Sarannu Pyar Bari Sat Shri Akal, मैं ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਆਪਣੀ Sonia West. Welcome to Khas Mulakat. Today in the studio, I'm pleased to welcome MLA Jody Toor. She's MLA for Langley Willowbrook, and she has some very exciting news. She's going to talk about M204. That's a new bill that she's spearheading. So we're going to talk to her now and learn what is M204. Welcome to the studio, Jody.
Thank
Hello,
you.
Sat Shri Akal. Jody, M204, it's a bill that is making big news because I think it's long overdue. ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕ ਆ ਉਹ ਮੇਬੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ what is bill M204?
Yeah, thank you. ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਦੇਖਣ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੇਰੀ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਰੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ. And Bill M204 is the Prenatal and Postnatal Mental Health Strategy Act.
Okay.
So a bill nu Royal Assent milia on Thursday, and Royal Assent meaning it became the law. Okay. So the bill is for ਔਰਤਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਤੇ families ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ pregnancy ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੇ during and ਬਾਅਦ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ mental health ਦੇ ਦਿੱਕਤ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ.
So ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ pregnancy ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ depression ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ, ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ we've heard about it, postpartum depression, that kind of thing. So perinatal mental health bill covers the depression aspect or anxiety or whatever mental health issues somebody's having when they're going through this.
ਹਾਂਜੀ, so ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਿੱਲ ਹੈ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ depression, anxiety or postpartum depression ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ, you get that services. And ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ birth ਹੈ it's a very joyous time ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ most families ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਪਰ ਕਾਫੀ families ਇਦਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਆ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ sadness ਵੀ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ due to stillborn babies or ਕਈ ਵਾਰ miscarriage ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ they have a trauma. There's children have to go into ICU, ਜਾਂ death of a child, ਜਾਂ termination ਕਰਨੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਆ. So
ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਿੱਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆ, so ਮੈਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਿਆ ਸੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਸਿਰਫ ਇਹ ਬਿੱਲ ਉਹ ਔਰਤਾਂ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਬੱਚਾ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਵਾ ਤਾਂ ਬੱਚਾ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਡਿਪਰੈਸ਼ਨ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਲਈ ਵੀ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ, ਪਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਪਏ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਵੀ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਟਰਮੀਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਨੀ ਪਈ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ stillborn ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਲਈ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਇਹ bill will help them as well.
ਹਾਂਜੀ, so and there's things ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਬਿੱਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਾਗੂ ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਜਿਵੇਂ grief counseling. So ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ problems ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਹੈ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣੀ grief, loss of a child, loss of an infant, ਕਿ ਉਹ timely manner ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉਹ services ਮਿਲਣ.
Amazing. ਕਰਕੇ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਦਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ, ਸੋ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਰ ਹੋਵੇ, ਸੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਦਾ ਵੀ ਇੰਤਜ਼ਾਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਇਸ ਬਿੱਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ.
ਹਾਂਜੀ, so counseling services, informed counseling around grief or around depression or around anxiety.
What inspired you to actually go through with this? Why is it so close to you?
Yes, so I'm a mother. ਮੇਰੇ ਆਪ ਦੀਆਂ ਦੋ ਬੇਟੀਆਂ ਆ, and ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਆਪ ਦਾ ਜਦੋਂ after being married, I had infertility issues. I'm a breast cancer survivor. So I know how it feels, hana. And ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਫਿਰ pregnancy ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ I had lots of health issues ਜਦੋਂ ਮੇਰੀ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਬੇਟੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ I was pregnant. So ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਆਪਾਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ community ਆ culturally ਆਪਾਂ ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਬਾਰੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਕਿ ਲੋਕੀ ਸੋਚਣਗੇ ਇਹ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਦਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਆ, and it is, but at the same time ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ unknown, new entering parenthood, ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ new journey ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ. So how you're going to deal with this, and just I had all of those issues myself, and so I felt ਕਿ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਕੋਈ support ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗੀ, medically ਕੋਈ support ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗੀ.
And usually ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਮਾਜ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਇਟਸ ਡਿਫਿਕਲਟ, ਸਾਰੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਰ ਕਈ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਮਾਜ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੇ ਮਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਚੱਕੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਲੈ ਇਹ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਮਾਂ ਆ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਚੱਕਦੀ, ਇਹ ਖੁਸ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦੀ. So instead of that stigma that making people feel bad for feelings, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਖੁੱਲ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਤਾ I'm a breast cancer survivor, so good for you for being able to say that. Because ਸਾਡੇ ਸਮਾਜ we don't talk about anything like that.
We don't.
We look at you. So ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਦੇ we say, oh, she's MLA Jody Toor. She's accomplished. She's educated. She's a mother. She's all these things, and we see how beautiful you are. But ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਦੁੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲੰਘੇ ਆ. So it's good that you're sharing your story. ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ viewers ਆ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਦੁੱਖ ਸੁਣ ਕੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਕਹੋਗੇ ਵੀ Jody the ਲੰਘ ਕੇ she can do so well in her life. You're inspiring others to do the same.
Thank you. And that is why ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਇੱਕ behind the scenes ਚੁੱਪ and no family, ਕੋਈ ਔਰਤ or ਕੋਈ family ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ silence ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ struggle ਕਰਨਾ, it's not fair.
Right.
So ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਕਿ that कि मैं थोड़ी आवाज़ बन सकती हाँ एंड मेरे वर्गियां बहुत औरतां हैं बहुत फैमिलीज़ हैं ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ स्ट्रगल ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੰਘ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਆ ਤੇ ਨੰਗੀਆਂ ਆ ਸੋ ਆਈ ਵਾਂਟ ਕਿ ਫਿਊਚਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਇਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਟਰਗਲ ਨਾ ਕਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਕਰਨਾ ਪਵੇ
That's wonderful. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ why did you choose province-wide strategy rather than local kind of making decisions? Why province-wide?
Yeah, so it's very important because, you know, yes, मैं Langley Willowbrook ਨੂੰ represent ਕਰਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਪਰ ਇਹ ਕੱਲਾ Langley Willowbrook ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ problem ਹੈਗੀ.
Right.
It's a worldwide issue.
Yeah.
But as a provincial elected, you know, MLA, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਸਾਰੇ BC ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, you know, ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੀ importance ਹੈਗੀ ਆ and ਕਾਫੀ areas ਹੈਗੇ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਆਪਾਂ rural area ਕਹਿ ਦਈਏ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, you know, actually ਇਹ services ਜਮਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ available ਹੈਗੀਆਂ.
Right.
Psychiatrists ਨਹੀਂ available ਹੈਗੇ, counselors ਨਹੀਂ available ਹੈਗੇ.
Okay.
So ਉਹ ਔਰਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ services ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਦੀਆਂ, families ਨੂੰ services ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਦੀਆਂ. So ਇਹਦੇ bill ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਆ ਕਿ you know, not only that a timely accessibility, but you get the services where you are and when you need them.
Amazing.
And so telehealth is available.
Yeah.
So, you know, ਇਹ ਮੈਂ bill ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀਤਾ ਲਾਗੂ ਕਿ, you know, ਕਿਸੇ family ਨੂੰ doesn't matter ਕਿੱਥੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ, ਕਿਸ, you know, background ਨੂੰ belong ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, they get the services right away.
Okay, that's amazing. So rather than just provincial, I actually think maybe it should be federal because there's women all throughout the country, all throughout the world. So it's a great initiative. We'll start with BC and then hopefully somebody else will, you know, also adopt this same strategy.
Absolutely. Like I said, it's a global, it's, you know, there's birthing moms everywhere, birthing families, and, you know, a lot of people, 1 in 5 women are struggling with mental health, you know, either prenatal or postnatal.
Yeah, so if somebody lives in Vancouver or they live in Kamloops, it doesn't matter. Everybody's going to get the same help.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, everyone's equal.
Yeah, it's going to be it's under universal health care.
That's wonderful. Okay, mental health services that are provided under this new strategy, what's the priority? How do you assess who needs the service right away compared to somebody? Is there like a triage type of system?
So it's for all. It's, you know, because it's such a timely, sensitive issue. Sometimes when we have depression and especially postpartum depression, if we don't get that timely service, some women can go into psychosis. And, you know, we want to make sure that we address those problems before a family has to go through that. So it's any woman, any family that's going through this. There's going to be, you know, obviously a province-wide strategy development that's going to happen. And we're going to have input, you know, from different organizations, from different healthcare providers. But, you know, it's right now, it's for anybody that's going through prenatal and postnatal.
Okay, when is this actually available?
So I've given the government 1 year, the Minister of Health, 1 year to come up with a development of the strategy. And so I'm hoping that within 1 year that after I receive the royal assent that they will start working on this.
Okay, well that's optimistic for people that are planning maybe having babies in the near future so they can take advantage of this. Culturally diverse communities in BC. I know that BC is obviously culturally diverse. How is the trauma-informed care going to be ensured for those communities?
Yeah, so again, in my bill, I've also introduced that culturally sensitive, you know, information is there, especially around stigma, like we just spoke, right? So a lot of cultures, a lot of communities, we don't want to talk about, you know, depression and anxiety and, you know, mental health because there's such huge stigma around it. So having that cultural information awareness is very important, and that's also part of my development.
So every community is going to get special care, and your plan will include everyone to be tailored to their culture.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Additional training for healthcare providers. Is this something that's going to be happening as part of this plan?
It is. So that's also part of the development. That you know, not every healthcare provider gets that, you know, trauma-informed care and training. So that's very important because, you know, we have weekly checks when we have a newborn baby. Then we have monthly checks when we have newborn babies. But what about the mother?
No one checks on the mom.
Nobody checks up on the mom, right? So the mom usually gets, regardless of what kind of procedure she had, if it was a natural birth or if it was a cesarean, or if it was, you know, like I said, like a miscarriage or a stillborn, any of those sorts of birth, the mother actually gets a 6-week checkup.
Okay.
And at that 6 week, usually it's just, you know, you're healthy, you can go back to the gym, you can lift an X amount of weights, and you can, go about your daily activities.
Right.
But nobody actually in that checkup actually checks up on the mother's mental health.
Right.
And, what kind of support does she have? How is she sleeping? What kind of care is she receiving?
Right.
And is she okay? Just having that check and being like, are you okay?
That's so nice.
How's motherhood treating you?
Right.
So there is no strategy in that. And I thought that, going through it myself, I felt, well, that's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because that's a very big transformation that women go through.
Absolutely.
Right? So motherhood from one child, sometimes to 2 or 3, there's a lot of adjustments that mothers have to do. So that is also part of the strategy that, we have that check-in with moms.
That's amazing, because when you think about somebody having a baby, everyone goes and flocks toward the baby and wants to hold the baby, and nobody really even pays attention to the mother, and for her 24 hours is devoted to her baby or her other children, or maybe her, familial obligations. So she's busy.
Yeah.
And to have someone actually say, how are you, on a personal note, like a mental health checkup, that's needed. That's necessary.
It is.
A long time ago. So thank you for bringing it forward, because I think everybody can benefit from this. Not only women, because if you have a strong mother that's mentally sound, the whole family is just going to be, better.
Oh yeah,
So you're
the whole
improving the whole
community,
dynamic.
right?
Yeah.
So I always say it's if the mom is healthy and thriving, the child is healthy and thriving.
Absolutely.
And then her family unit, and then the community. We all thrive.
Yeah.
Right? So if a mom's not doing well, her child's not going to be doing well.
That's right.
Her household's not going to be doing well. Her partner may not be doing well.
Yeah.
So it's a whole community that comes together when a mom thrives, right? So
that's wonderful.
Very important.
Very important. You mentioned that the bill reflects the voices of parents and advocates. Can you share an example of a story that moved you personally?
Yeah, so there's so many societies, so many organizations. I actually was just speaking to an organization this morning, and they were one of the biggest advocates for my bill when they heard that I was bringing it in. And just sharing that they had a friend that was going, educated, had a great job, fell into postpartum depression and was seeking help. And unfortunately, she just couldn't get in that timely manner that she needed. And she fell through the cracks. And she had a 2-year-old and then left behind a 7-month-old and ended up committing suicide. And her family has been reaching out to me and the different organizations that had been working with her, that were advocating for her, that were trying to get her that help, and they couldn't. And
sorry, so this story, I didn't expect it to end like that, because we didn't talk off camera and prepare for this. So
sorry.
No, it's okay. This is important. I appreciate you bringing this forward and the reality of it.
It is.
So can we just talk about this lady for a second? So there's a lady that needed help.
Yep.
And she didn't get the help that she needed. She fell through the cracks, and then she took her own life.
She did.
And she left behind.
So she left behind a 2-year-old and her newborn, which was about 6 months old. So that timely, and why people ask me, like, Jody, you put this in your bill, that timely access.
So important.
So it's so important, because when I mentioned that women can go into a psychosis at postpartum depression.
They can, hey?
I
don't know much about the subject, so.
They can, yeah. And that's rare cases, but it's very much there. And having that care in that timely manner, it's so important.
Right.
And she wasn't able to. She wasn't able to get into that doctor, that psychiatrist, that care. And there was so many different groups that were advocating for her, that her family had been reaching, her friends, and she had a great circle of friends. And so there's so many people from that group that have been like, thanking me for bringing this bill forward. Obviously it's too late for their family, but I would never wish this upon any other family, for generations to come.
So this was a business professional. This is a woman that was working hard, doing all the right things, seemed healthy, seemed mentally strong, had 2 beautiful children, and then out of nowhere, this depression hits, and she's then made the decision to take her own life. Unbelievable.
And it's really raw and fresh for the family, right? So for them to reach out and advocate and support my bill, it was very touching to know that, how just something that I initiated from what I was going through and speaking to family and friends that had, had their own different journeys and, different stories. But how many other people this was affecting? Like I mentioned, 1 in 5 women.
That's crazy. Wow.
So, and the rare cases that some can commit suicide. And it's not that it doesn't happen.
Wow.
It happens quite often.
Yeah.
And I just don't wish that any other family should have to suffer. Any other child has to suffer like that.
Okay, so being that we are a South Asian television station, let's just a little bit Punjabi. I'm going to just talk a bit about what happened. So, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਔਰਤ ਸੀਗੀ, ਉਹ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਦਾ 6 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਦਾ ਬੱਚਾ ਹੋਇਆ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਡਿਪਰੈਸ਼ਨ ਹੋ ਗਈ. ਉਹ ਸੀਗੀ, give us a little bit in Punjabi if you can.
Yeah, so ਉਹ ਔਰਤ actually ਜਦੋਂ second ਬੱਚਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੋਇਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ postpartum depression ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ and ਉਹ rare cases ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ psychosis ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ. ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ
Psychosis ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ?
Psychosis ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ extreme ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਾਂ suicide thoughts ਜਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ harm ਕਰਨਾ, ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ harm ਕਰਨਾ and ਉਹਦੀ ਹੈਗੀ very timely ਇੱਕ sensitive time ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਜੇ ਉਸ ਔਰਤ ਨੂੰ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਉਹਦੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਦਈਏ, ਦਵਾਈ ਮਿਲ ਸਕੇ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਿੰਗ, ਸਾਈਕਾਇਟਰਿਸਟ ਉਹਦੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰ ਸਕੇ, ਉਹ ਇਸ ਸਾਈਕੋਸਿਸ ਤੋਂ ਵਾਪਸ ਆ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ. ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਔਰਤ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਉਸ timely manner ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ and unfortunately ਉਹਨੇ suicide ਕੀਤਾ. And so ਮੇਰਾ ਇਹ ਮੁੱਦਾ ਹੈ ਬਿੱਲ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣ ਦਾ ਕਿ ਕਿਸੇ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਸਫਰ ਨਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਪਵੇ.
ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਪਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ this subject you brought forward, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵਧੀਆ ਤਾਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਰਕੇ we think of politicians and we think, oh, they think about, budgets and housing and, that kind of stuff, numbers. This is so humane. This is such a beautiful thing that you brought forward. This is very necessary, and not just in South Asian culture, in all cultures, but to see a politician working hard to make lives better with no kind of financial gain for yourself. Like it's so refreshing because oftentimes politicians get a bad rap.
Yeah, they do. And I didn't get into politics for that reason. I got into politics to make a better future for my 2 girls.
Yeah.
And, I'm not having any more children, but I don't, God forbid that my children have to go through something like this. I want to make sure that there's support for them.
Right.
And like I mentioned, I have 2 daughters.
Yeah.
So I don't want anybody to suffer.
No.
And, not only just the local community, but making sure that everybody in BC gets that support.
That is wonderful. So every community and in every part of BC, no matter what their socioeconomic status is, you've got them supported.
Yes.
That's a wonderful thing. Jody Toor and it is honestly just a pleasure to talk to you, and you brought forward such an important thing, and I hope people utilize this. Even though it's there, people might still shy away from utilizing it. I hope, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਆ, ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ bill and available ਹੋਗਾ, when those services are available, I hope ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ community ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਚੱਕੋਗੇ.
I hope so.
Yeah. ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ message ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਆ, our viewers in English or Punjabi, whatever language you want, you go ahead and give them a message.
Yes. ਮੈਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਦੱਸ ਕੇ ਹਟੀਆਂ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਬਿੱਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆ ਇਕੱਲਾ ਇੱਕ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ, ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਫੈਮਲੀਜ਼ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆ. ਸੋ ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਗ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਦੀ ਮੈਂਟਲ ਹੈਲਥ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਆ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਆ ਬਿਫੋਰ ਪ੍ਰੈਗਨੈਂਸੀ, ਆਫਟਰ ਜਾਂ any time, ਤੁਸੀਂ please mental health ਦੀ support ਲਵੋ. There's lots of helplines, but ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ pregnancy ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਦਿੱਕਤ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਆ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ nearest doctor ਨੂੰ, counselor ਨੂੰ, ਜਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ reach ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ. ਮੇਰਾ office ਹੈਗਾ ਆ in Langley 20611 Unit 104 Fraser Highway, ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ phone ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ. ਮੇਰਾ personal cell phone number ਹੈਗਾ ਆ 672-974-7539, and ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ anytime, ਤੁਸੀਂ doesn't matter ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ anytime phone ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ, ਮੈਨੂੰ message ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ, ਜਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ email ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ, and I'm sure that I will give you that support and make sure ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ suffer ਇਕੱਲੇ ਨਾ ਕਰੋ.
Jody Toor, that's amazing. To see your personal cell phone number, that's so kind of you. And you said no matter where you live, reach out. So thank you so much. That is definitely from the heart. I appreciate it. Thank you. ਇਸ ਸਾਡੇ ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਉਮੀਦ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਸੰਦ ਆਇਆ. ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਮੈਂਟਲ ਹੈਲਥ ਦੀ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਰੀਚ ਆਊਟ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ. ਮੇਬੀ ਨਾਟ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ, ਮੇਬੀ ਨਾਟ ਫਰੈਂਡਸ, ਮੇਬੀ ਯੂ ਕੈਨ ਰੀਚ ਆਊਟ ਟੂ ਮੀ ਐਟ Sanjha TV. ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਖੜੇ ਆ. ਪਰ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰੈਗਨੈਂਸੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਆ, ਡੈਫੀਨਿਟਲੀ ਜੋਡੀ ਟੂਰ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਵੈਲਿਊਬਲ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਆ. ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਆਫਿਸ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ, ਤਾਂ ਫੋਨ ਨੰਬਰ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ. ਸੋ MLA Jody Toor, Langley Willowbrook, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ. ਬਹੁਤ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਇਆ. ਇਫ ਯੂ ਸਫਰ, ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਰੀਚ ਆਊਟ. ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਸੋਨੀ ਵੈਸਟ. ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਫॉर ਵਾਚਿੰਗ. ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ.